Howdy, howdy, everybody out there in YouTube land. Welcome back to my little digital slice of the grand land of Olean. Today we're talking about lighting, and of course I'm wearing the red frames. Yeah, so the red frames cut out the blue light, which research potentially has shown is good for you. The not having blue light. Especially, it can be good and it can be bad because the blue light is typically what we associate with sunlight. And so, if we see blue light, our brain stays active. So, towards the end of the day, they suggest you cut out blue light, especially from your electronics, so it helps you go to sleep. I wear these because I think I look cool, but also it turns the sky purple, which is my favorite color. Hacha! All the hair. Now, I am absolutely dying, right? Not for real. But I laugh at my own jokes, right? I just did a remix of Josh Norbito's little video he did where he remixed a kid solving a 2x2, and then he went to do it and he broke the cube all over the place. If you want to see why I'm laughing so much, go ahead and check out my recent remix short. I can't. Oh, it's too funny. Anyway, chapter 14 is all about lighting today, and what better way to get that started than a nice little conversation about blue light. Now, this chapter is a shorter one, and then we're talking about David Copperfield. So, let's jump right on into it. But gingerly, so we don't fall and break a hip. Here we go. Dr. Phil McGraw puts in 18-hour days and talks to Oprah every night by phone. Of course, she gives me pointers, he says. She tells me, take it from me, lighting is everything. TV Guide, September 21st, 2002. Who knew? America's billionaire former queen of daytime TV owes her fortune to the placement of a few Klieg lights. Well, lighting may not be everything for you, but lighting should never be treated lightly. Here's what you do when setting up. First, and absolutely most importantly, your stage needs what lighting designers call a good wash of light. General illumination for every area where any action takes place. Right here on the face. The action, that is. So you can capture my emotions. For this discussion, we will ignore any specific needs for darkness you might require to accomplish the magic. And for most platform performers, a good wash is all they need. I'm talking lighting here. you gotta keep this hair beautiful, you know. In general, the more light, the better. At an absolute minimum, you want to ensure that more light falls on you than on the audience. That should be obvious, but I have seen many professional speakers and some entertainers ignore this basic requirement. He did mention earlier in the book that sometimes when you're performing, especially when, like right now, if I'm looking at the camera, sometimes my eyes might drift down to my video, which means I'm not looking at you directly, but when you're performing, the audience will most likely be dark. You might be able to see some people in the front row, but you have to act like you can see everybody. You have to connect with them. And so you have to pretend. So it's all a performance. Spotlights. Some venues pay extra for an operator to aim a follow spotlight or follow spot at the performers. Does that work for you? In my work as a hypnotist and mentalist, I need to work directly with the audience, and spotlights, depending on their position and intensity, can be blinding. So I ask the operator just to widen the aperture as much as possible, then center the beam and lock it into position. Usually that makes them happy, less work, and it makes me happy. Because then you still get the spotlight, you're still getting the effect of it, and you can kind of control the area of effect, right? Because it's not moving with you, so there's no guesswork. This is where the magic happens. On the other hand, spotlights, and there often are more than one, do help focus attention on you. So you may choose to let the operators do what they're there for. Just be sure to get your butt up on the stage and walk around in exactly the same lighting you will encounter during the show. Spotlights following you and all. You can't know if the conditions suit you until you thoroughly test them. For most types of shows, you will want to raise the spotlights up as high as possible on their stands so the bright lights are not shining into your eyes as you try to make eye contact with the audience. Performers look foolish and amateurish when they need to shade their eyes to converse with someone in the audience. That should never happen if you properly set the lights beforehand. A quick note on spotlights is they do come with the filters, so it does work in a performance if you need to. Some magic works this way. Change the color of certain things for a different effect. It works pretty good. Unless needed for a specific reason, try to avoid performing with no light other than one strong spotlight. A powerful spotlight is harsh, casting stark and distracting shadows. You may be better served by turning on whatever lights are overhead, even fluorescents, if they help fill out the overall light pattern better. Although things have improved recently, magic conventions have been notorious for poor lighting and for using spotlights inappropriately. Unless you are certain you specifically want the dramatic effect it provides, don't settle for just one spotlight. Often, I ask the spotlight operator to just give me a pinkish hue, open the iris to its fullest, aim at center stage, and lock it. Yes, he was paid to follow me around the stage, but over time I came to prefer a fixed light. It tended to be less distracting. Yeah, like here I got some shadows back here because I've got both my lighting on this side because I've got a white wall here. So is it necessary to have all this shadow here? No. But I do also have a ring light that I could turn on to kind of give me a little bit more light here. Because everything's focused in this direction because I wanted the camera. I actually have a camera set up over there, but I haven't changed it yet to do that. So, coming soon! Finding the hot spot. If you're working without a spotlight, you face a different set of challenges. First, where will you plant yourself for most of your show? In most cases, lighting dictates the answer. You want to be smack in the brightest spot on the stage. Here's how you find that spot without bothering anyone else. Stand where you think the most light falls. With luck, this will be down stage center. But not always. That's why you must test for what feels like the hot spot by moving slightly to your left, then to your right, forward, then back. Then proceed to the next spot of the process. Process. To narrow it down further, step to the side and just slightly in front of where you assume the hot spot is. Hold your hand up, palm facing the audience, and where your head should be. Now move your hand slowly from side to side and back, front to back. Watch your palm. It will brighten or darken as it moves. Once you find your hot spot, place the microphone stand on it and announce, "Please do not touch this stand!" Exclamation point. Good luck. Or better, mark it on the floor with tape. Sound and lighting. Dominate the terrain, an object lesson. The June 2003 meeting of the minds, as the Psychic Entertainers Association calls its annual get-together, in Calgary, Canada, was a festive four-day event. On the final night, Saturday, PEA members from around the world dined, chatted, and applauded as awards were presented honoring the commitment of its members, some of whom had participated in the organization for its entire 25 years. At the conclusion of the award ceremony, the membership prepared to be entertained by some of their own. Of the 5 acts that would be performing that night, 3 were full-time professionals, performers who earned their living by dependability delivering entertainment. The venue was a large balloon in a fine Calgary restaurant. Ballroom, not balloon. Close, though. Complete with sunken dance floor and terrace dining area. All signs pointed toward success. The crowd was fully crammed with friends, plus a good number of outsiders, drawn to the event by publicity, which included coverage on the local TV news shows. But much of the night turned into a performer's and an audience's nightmare. From the first act, the sound system seemed demon-possessed, shrouding each performer in a cocoon of squeals, hisses, shriekings, and gibberings. The sound system cut in and out randomly, but regularly, and effectively stymied the world-class performers who struggled heroically to adjust. The next morning, Sunday, standing before the blurry-eyed PEA attendees, I began my annual performance workshop. A director's assessment of everyone's performances at the meeting of the Minds evening show. When I had reached the point where I was to review the Saturday night show, I stepped to the edge of the platform and brought the handheld microphone close to my mouth. I felt my voice thicken and experienced deep surprise at the sudden surge of emotion traveling up my spine. I described the debacle with the sound system the previous night and then said, if I had been on the show last night, that never would have happened. The lecture room fell silent. I repeated myself more slowly. My voice, a near whisper in the charged silence of the lecture room. If I had been on the show last night, that would not have happened. Does that sound pompous? Perhaps here on this cold page it does. But my peers in the audience recognized that I was speaking from a place of sincerity, of camaraderie, of honesty, and I was banking on the professionalism and commitment to excellence within our organization to get a fair hearing. It was a matter of personal pride. The reputation of an organization I cared deeply about had been sullied. Here was a situation that, however unpleasant, needed to be addressed. So basically, what he's saying is like, oh, I would, it wouldn't have happened to me. What he's saying is, I would not have allowed it to happen. I would have fixed it, and if it wasn't going to be fixed, we would have scrapped it. Like that. He's saying it wouldn't have happened. It just wouldn't have been allowed. At least that's what I'm gathering from it, which is a very powerful thing to say. That he's saying, look, no, we deserve better, and we should take and do the due diligence necessary to fix these problems. Their search for remedies. In the case of the Saturday night performance at the Calgary meeting of the Minds, although the bulk of the audience consisted of PEA members, at least a quarter of the attendees had paid to see us that night. Civilians were present. All shows matter, but when it's more than just the guys in the audience, they matter more. Your reputation rises or falls every time you step in front of an audience. Can you imagine the word of mouth generated by that Saturday night performance? Remember, as far as the audience is concerned, there are no excuses. They arrive at a venue, pay good money, and expect to be entertained. Are you not entertained? And if you are, consider subscribing today. It really does help out the channel. And don't forget about the book sponsorship we've got going on. We have a second Maximum Entertainment sitting right here on my desk, ready to be sent out to somebody so that they can also be entertaining as well. And if I'm not entertaining, go ahead and comment down below what I could be doing differently for you specifically to help you have a better day. So thank you. Let's get back into it. Remember, as far as the audience is concerned, there are no excuses. They arrive at a venue, pay good money, and expect to be entertained. They will make no fine distinctions. Oh, the performer did his best under very trying circumstances. How could the venue treat that nice performer that way? From the perspective of the general paying audience, you are the venue, and they will no more overlook the shortcomings of your performance than they would accept the apologies of a restaurant waiter who offers, I'm sorry the salad greens are wilted, but it is not our fault. The cooling system in the produce truck failed. All we had left were these. However, I made sure to polish your silverware with extra care. How generously would you tip that waiter? Would you return? Where the buck stops. The only way that you can hope to overcome the kinds of problems experienced at the Calgary MOTM is to own the territory, dominate the terrain. The performer who wants to succeed in every circumstance needs to take every performing situation and venue seriously and become as affably stubborn, finicky, and particular as you are about the things in your life that you depend upon for comfort and safety. Would you drive around in your car without a spare tire? Yeah. Probably shouldn't, and this is a topic once I finish this section here I'll talk about. Continue to operate a computer holding your list of performing dates for the coming months without backing it up. You must take control. Otherwise, you will find yourself looking out across the footlights with that deer in the headlights expression on your face as the sound system from hell chews your carefully constructed performance into a thing of misery. So, my shortcoming that I am acknowledging slowly, my flaw, is that I have time blindness, but I also have a lack of respect and caring about having time blindness, which means I struggle with being on time in here. And I have allowed that to become one of my characteristics, and I have been complacent about it. And so I will be late to work and not care. And that's something that I'm working on. But more importantly, that's for somebody else. So if you fall into the habit, and that's an internal thing, and I'm not saying I don't care to be flippant, I'm saying that I've become complacent within the conditioning that I understand is me and something that I need to work on. And if you become complacent on this, then they become bad habits. Now, you can have time blindness and still have good habits about it, but I have bad habits on top of having time blindness, and I'm working on it, and it's a struggle. And so for me, it's really important that if I do take the step to become a performer in the wild and do shows, paid shows, I need to get rid of this habit. I need to put the audience first. I need to show up early. I need to make sure everything is set and right and good to go. And I need to use my time more wisely. And so I'm working on these habits now, and it's a painstakingly slow process, but I am working on it, and we hope to get better as we move through Maximum Entertainment 2.0. Blessed are the not meek. It amazes me how performers who seduce, charm, dominate, and fry audiences on a regular basis can be completely docile, tame, and undemanding in the presence of sound and lighting technicians on whom their shows and the happiness of their audiences depend. Statements that these powerful performers would not accept from other technical professionals, such as automotive repairmen, oh, that rattle is normal in this year's model, seem to fly completely under the radar when uttered by the average sound and light technician. Every performer needs to take responsibility for an event. While it is understandable that sound or light technicians will try to minimize their workload, skimping on the fine details by telling you that everything was up and working fine last night, you do not have the luxury to go with their untested assertion. As a professional performer, you have a duty to go through your checklist and perform the necessary tests to ensure your own success. Your absolute lifeline as a performer, the only thing that connects you to your audience, unless you happen to perform as a mime without music, is the sound system. Losing that lifeline, or worse, having it turn into a spitting monster, spraying your audience with vile sonic effluvia, as it did to the performers in Kalgora, is professional suicide. When I asked one of the performers if he had done a sound check before the performance, I was told, sort of. We need look no further for the roots of the problem in Kalgora that night. Sound checks are not an optional part of a performer's life. Look good like good dental hygiene, sound fiscal habits, and backing up your hard drive. Men and women who ignore these but important routine but important parts of life will eventually reap the eventual consequences of their neglect. This was certainly true that night in Kalgora. What should I have done before the Kalgora performance? Since I was not backstage before the show, I cannot provide absolute answers. But based on what I was told later on, I do know this. A number of microphone options were available at the moment I realized there were serious audio problems. I would have sought out the simplest, most direct solution: a corded handheld microphone and a microphone stand. This setup is direct and simple. If you can solve a room's problems with this setup, you go with it. Even if you regularly use a cordless clip-on microphone, bad sound ruins a show, so you accept a workaround solution. A few awkward moments are better than constant craving for audio relief. The room had large disco-type speakers around its ceiling and sides, and in the rear a DJ booth with the sound system controls. I would have tested various mics, and for each I would have adjusted the tone, volume, and other controls to find its optimum setting. turning different speakers on and off, re-aiming speakers, combinations of all the above. And I would have taken these steps until I was certain I had achieved the best solution available. Get it right. Whatever the cost and time, an audience will barely remember a delay if it's followed by a successful performance. But they'll forever associate your name with the unpleasantness of having their ears horribly violated by the devil's own sound system. Count on that and act accordingly. At the beginning, we had a little bit of sound issue. I started recording and it was off. I don't know why it was off. It's usually on. So that is something that you have to be mindful of and do those checks ahead of time. I don't know how many times that I have uploaded a video that had no sound because my device, my soundboard wasn't on. Now I've built in those habits. It only took me about 30 seconds to realize it wasn't on. I need to get better. I need to look down there and realize before I push record, because OBS will show me if it's playing, and I need to be aware of that. Something else I've noticed, that when I switch between frames, sometimes it captures an echo audio and will play double audio for like 2 seconds. So what I've started doing is when I switch to a different frame, I pause or I say an intermediate thing that isn't as relevant, because if I lose that timing while I'm continuing, then it's pointless because you're not going to hear what I'm saying. So I pause, wait for the transition, then continue. Okay, that's a beautifully short little chapter talking about lighting. There wasn't any really, I call it dry material. It wasn't going into like, use this brand of lighting or use this or that. It's about spotlight control. It was about sound. Like, they really brought sound back into it because those things are so important. I think with what we do, you need to be able to be seen and you need to be able to be heard. I'm reading a book to you, so how I look is really not as important as how I sound, but I need to be able to do both. So, let's get through this personal highlight of David Copperfield flying. I can recall only 2 times when I literally experienced a visceral reaction to magic, when what I watched affected my gut. The 2 could not have been more different. One was The Masked Magician. The smarmy, mean-spiritedness of those shows appalled me as I watched them viciously attack a centuries-old tradition that lived inside me. Magicians keep secrets, and my stomach churned. The exact opposite end of the physical reaction spectrum happened during one of David Copperfield's TV specials. I saw flying. It thrilled me to my core in a way no other trick has, before or since. The perfect magic trick is the one you would do if you were truly a wizard. Vernon's unlimited production of silver, done at the dinner table or reaching into the air to produce coins. A la Miser's Dream. Both meet that criterion. My favorite close-up effect, which evolved from a Patrick Page concept, has many variations and names. It involves cleanly showing a stack of $1 bills and then changing them into high dominion bills. Nothing but the bills in bare hands when done by a professional. Close-up pro Alan's chair, now gone, gave the best presentation I've seen of this. It's remembered for years, and why not? It is exactly what you would do if you truly possess magical powers. What powers would a genuine magician exhibit if he were to perform before a large audience? One answer lies both in the mythology and superhero comic books. Men wants to leave Earth's grasp, to fly, to soar, not in a mechanical contraption, but the way a bird does. A bird thinks, in his little bird brain, I'm here and now I want to be there. If he's on the ground and wants to perch on a tree limb, he lifts his beak and up he goes. To earthbound man, that's magic of the highest order. David Copperfield and his team have developed some of the slickest, most incredible illusions imaginable, and David performs them with icy hot precision. Then there's flying. In this perfectly executed routine, he shows us the purest of pure magic. No props or assistants, no tables, swords, cloth coverings, water fountains, and certainly no brooms! Exclamation point. The man looks up, and up he goes. Smoothly he glides and swoops, and only after he has established his mastery of the air does he challenge the intellect by introducing hoops and transparent boxes, which affect his airborne antics not in the slightest. Stylishly, thrillingly, and miraculously, David Copperfield flew, and inside my body I felt as though I was soaring. Watching Flying on Copperfield's Illusion DVD didn't diminish my admiration for this trick. What a trifling word in this case. Instead of seeing it with the sharpest video details and highest quality audio made it ascend still higher in my view. In 2018, I saw Chris Angel close his show at the Luxor with his version of Flying. It was done extremely well. But geez, it's David's! Exclamation point. Next section, we get into performance. A presentation, especially a theatrical one, before an audience. Chapter 15 is Close-Up Magic. Thank you for joining me today for this beautiful reading of Chapter 14, all about lighting, with a little bit of sound, and we had fun today as we went through this chapter. I really hope you guys take advantage of this book sponsorship, and I really hope that you subscribe today, because it really does help out the channel. And of course, check out this video over here that's just for you. Yep, just for you. Ta-da!